this show, they wanted diversity. You know, there are two guys that wrote it. I'm a guy that's going to lead produce it. We need to open the box on Broadway and in every industry, right? If there's a Brady Bunch box, that's 9 boxes, like the Hollywood Squares, even though everyone here is much younger to know that. But in the 9 boxes, I want the writers and me in the bottom corner. I want to fill the creative team and the people that produce and invest with diversity. Young, old, everyone should start to do that. So what can I do as a lead producer who's never led produced a musical? I raise money for shows. When it was, and this was during COVID, I reached out. I said, I'm going to only really reach out to a diverse crew, a diverse team. And to start that team, I need to find a director. So I basically reached out to 4 female directors that were recommended to me. And one of them called me up immediately and said, this is my story to tell. I lost both of my parents to cancer. I lost my brother to cancer. Now the musical is an uplifting musical that just has cancer as a background. So I could have reached out to a million creative directors, but to find someone right off the bat that was so connected to the show, we have brought her on as the director of our show. Whatever the future is for Fly More Than You Fall, I hope that she stays with it. And now that we're in the process, we need to hire a dramaturg. So what I could do is make sure that I'm reaching out to people that have not had a Broadway break and say, look, I'm starting a new show here. Join me on the journey if you believe in the show. And I hope that as the show progresses, I will continue filling that box of creatives with people that might not have already had that opportunity to have their break on Broadway. And I want to do that also on the investor side. The typical investment, to talk business of Broadway, the typical investment in a Broadway show is $25,000. My first Broadway investment, I was lucky enough, it was $7,500. And I did that when I was in my maybe 30s or 40s. And that is a lot of money today, and that was a lot of money back then. If we don't do something about the typical minimums, how are we going to get anyone here to invest? And if younger people or any older people, whatever, don't invest, then the future of Broadway and the future of theater, it's going to be troublesome because shows are getting more and more expensive to produce. Like a startup. Startups are expensive to start. You need seed money for a startup business. Who are you going to for that seed money to start your business? It's the same with Broadway. When you're starting a show from the ground one, which is what we're doing with Fly More, it's a riskier investment. It's a riskier business to get involved with. And I know that was more than 5 minutes. So. That's what I'm trying to do.
What are your long-term goals for the Broadway industry related to diversity and inclusion?
Yeah, it goes with, as I'm talking to colleagues, and I have so many wonderful colleagues that are involved with diversity and starting initiatives right now on the shows that they're doing. And I hope to continue that path and be able to get involved with shows that where diversity is an important aspect of that show. I'm also starting to work on a show that's coming from London called Death Drop. And it's like a Agatha Christie. And that will that'll be the first show with an all drag king and drag queen cast, right? It's like a traditional Broadway show, but there needs to be all type of shows and actors, actresses out there being represented. And we need lead producers, co-producers, investors to get behind that so that Broadway will start to accept different type of shows and plays like that. And I just want to see a Agatha Christie. I love that idea. Opening this summer.
Okay. I think you might have touched a little bit on this, but what are some of the results of these efforts to bring more diversity and inclusion?
I've been fortunate enough to bring in a great dramaturg and a great director for Fly More. I've been lucky that there have been a lot of people that want to support Fly More. And again, I started this under COVID when nobody was talking theater, nobody was leaving their house, nobody was going No one's going anywhere. So for me to be able to reach out and get the trust and the faith in the investors that I've worked with before, and for them to say, okay, we follow you. We believe that there is a space for original musicals, a new musical. I love my friends, and I've been involved with revivals. Like, I've been involved with jukebox musicals. I was on Once Upon On Your Feet, the Gloria Estefan musical. I was on Tina. I'm on plays. So I like getting involved with everything. But it's great that I can get the support of investors in mind to want to get behind a startup and to agree and believe that what I could do with bringing in new voices on these shows, we're getting involved with shows that support that same mindset is what I can do. And hopefully the results will be that in 3 to 5 years, I invite everyone here to opening night of Fly More Than You Fall. You know? Yay! You won't be Center Orchestra unless you put in some money. But you'll still be in the theater.
What are the biggest challenges you've faced as you've gone through this effort?
Wait, which question was that?
What are the biggest challenges you've faced as you've gone through this effort?
Oh, yeah, okay. So basically, it goes with the fact that investors, and again, this is any business, not just Broadway. Investors, if you're putting money into a business, you want to know the business. You want to know, like if you're investing in a restaurant, you want to know what the restaurant's going to serve. You don't want to go, a lot of investors don't want to go into something blind. If you come to me and you're pitching a startup, everyone watches Shark Tank. The more knowledge that the sharks have about the play, about the business, the more comfortable they're going to be in investing. And that's the same with theater. Investors want to know so that's the big challenge. You're asking them you're saying, oh, invest in the Once Upon a One More Time. It's a great musical with Britney Spears music. Okay, I get it. There's knowledge of that music or the Temptations or Moulin Rouge musical. There's familiarity. When there's a big challenge when you're doing things that don't have a pre-existing material to work with to get people to trust you on or to get involved with, right? So that's the challenge. You're basically asking them, they're investing in me without sometimes really knowing a lot about what and Broadway is a really, really, really risky business. And if any of my investors are watching, it's not at all. It's not really but for everyone here. So that's a big challenge, It's like asking a boss for a raise and like, what do you do to deserve that raise? And you go, like, just trust me. I'll earn my raise, right? All right. I'll take that out in the future. I don't like that answer. All right.
Sure. So now thinking more broadly and looking at everyone here in the audience, what advice would you give to individuals who are just starting to embark on their careers and looking for allies as they do so?
I think it's important to get into bed with people you want to get into bed with, work-wise, invest-wise, right? And go after, whether it's theater, industries or companies within that industry that follow your mind of thinking, right? If you want to work in a business that represents you, look to see who works in that company, right? And you want to see familiar faces. We want to see ourselves in the businesses that we go to work for in the future, right? Age-wise, mentality-wise, the business you should have the same mindset, because we work a lot more than we play. Europeans, they play more than they work. They had some great lifestyle in Europe, but let's all move there. But Americans, unfortunately, we live to work. And I always say Europeans work to live, right? They're working, but they're like living. So any industry, I got out of college, I worked in the garment center, 9 to whatever. It's leaving my parents' house at 7 o'clock in the morning, getting home at 7 at night, and then working a night job some nights, 9 to 1, to make it some extra money. And then again, back and forth, repeating that same pattern until I said, I used to work for a caterer as a waiter. And I said to my parents one day, I'm going to start a business providing the waiters for the business, for caterers. And my parents said, we just sent you to 4 years of college. this comes then a few years later. My brother told them he was going to run away and join the circus. So I guess I set the path ready for them. My brother to say that. But try to be happy. Be happy. We get one turn at this. You know, don't get stuck and follow your dreams of working with people who represent what you feel. The people you'll want to work with 7 hours a day, 8 hours a day, or less if we're working virtually now. But hopefully we're switching that. And that's important. Be happy. I always say I'd rather wind up with someone who was like made no money but was passionate about what they did, as opposed to someone who made a ton of money who would come home and be like, I don't want to use an analogy. Like, okay, I represented McDonald's today and made 20. I would kill myself. I would just wouldn't work for me. So passion about the job and the fields that we move into is what should really drive us. Again, a question that I took more than 5 minutes to answer.
It's totally okay. How can we as individuals encourage more diversity and inclusion efforts?
Yeah, I think that I hopefully touched on that. What could we all do? Is go out there and search for companies or the people or producers or whatever that are getting involved with projects that you want to get involved with. And those are the people that you either want to work for or invest money in on Broadway or off Broadway or whatever. Because look at the long game of that, whether it's work-wise or investment-wise. And that's it. If we start now pursuing getting involved with or starting businesses or working for businesses that make inclusionary part of their business mindset, then we will start to see changes quicker and quicker and quicker than have happened in the last 20, 40, 100, 200 years.
One more prepared.
How can we as non-theater people help you in your Broadway inclusion efforts?
I'll be accepting checks all the way out. Anyone who took a picture with the Tony, that's $1,000. But if you tag me in that picture, it's only $22. It's meeting new people and spreading the word about the new shows that I'm involved with, and there's so many ways now. There's sharing it on social media about the shows, or finding investors that want to get involved with shows, or sometimes I bring on interns to do social media because I have like 7 Instagram accounts and LinkedIn account and Facebook, and I'm like clueless. I do it every so often, but so I want to help work with new voices. So I want to help everybody. What people could do in return, it's not like, you might know someone who wants to invest in a Broadway show one day and be like, oh, 5 years ago, Marc Levine spoke at a seminar we did one weekend. Be like, let me reach out to Marc Levine, right? So it's supporting theater, it's supporting the arts, and it's basically also supporting any industry where they make diversity and inclusion part of their business model, right? Because when they see that people are understanding and appreciating that and want to be part of it, then the business models will start to change for companies that have been in business for like hundreds and hundreds of years. So that's my ask, is that's what we take out of it, like that we pay it forward, right? Because that's what we need to do.
Tony Award-winning and Olivier-winning microphone right here. I could say.
I kept saying, don't forget to say Olivier. Don't forget to say Olivier.
My wife tells me don't forget to say my name. So, by the way, Hillary Carpenter. Awesome. Well, that's the prepared portion of the program. Do we have any questions out there from the audience? Yes.
My daughter's very interested in film production, and so when she's talking as a producer, she's talking millions of dollars. So could the average thing that you're doing, I'm just curious, I'm an accounting professor, so I this kind of stuff.
Sure.
How much money are we talking? You mentioned 125,000. You mentioned $1 million.
Yeah.
What is your typical funding for one of these shows?
Yeah.
What's your ask?
But a lot of plays are usually capitalized at like $7.5 million for a short, for a limited run play. Musicals now are capitalized at around $16 to $20 million. The average investment, the average ask for an investment in a Broadway show is about $25,000. To be a co-producer on a show, it's usually about $125. Because
And what kind of return are they getting? The investors. I mean, it depends on the success of the show.
you said you're an accountant, right? And so is my dad. So like,
Okay, but what kind of return? So I invest $10,000.
it's okay. 1 out of every 4 shows recoup, right?
Okay.
So what are you're investing in the experience of being part of the arts, right? You're going to opening night. You're getting access to my house seats. When I bring my investors to opening night, I usually give one ticket to a photographer so that they can follow you around and take pictures. So you don't have to, say to like Meryl Streep, "Hey Meryl, can you turn around and get a picture with me?" And the ideal situation is that a show's going to recoup their money, whether it's in 52 weeks or 34 weeks, and that the investors will get a profit. Because lead producers don't get a profit until all the investors are made solid. So you invest in a Broadway show, hopefully that show does well, then it goes on tour. You all live out, most of you, I believe, live outside of New York. I know some of you live in province. A lot of tours start there, and in a lot of your cities, you'll get the touring production of a show. If you're invested in the Broadway production, you will have the opportunity to reinvest. And when shows go on tour, they do traditionally very well because there's not as many seats. A Broadway house has 1,500 seats, so it's like 13,000 seats a week. So for a show to recoup, it needs to do maybe 80% capacity for 52 weeks. When the show goes to Tulsa, Oklahoma for a week, there's 13,000 seats, but it's only there for a week. Tours do very well. So the math and you invest, you can do pretty well on tours. Broadway is hard. Don't invest your college tuition. No, well, everyone's in college, right? All right, then you're good. Then your parents can invest now because they've already taken care of your college tuition. So that's the finances. That's roughly it. It's roughly 25 to invest, roughly 125 to get co-pro. But I've tried and I've made a point of trying to bring in newer people for under that and include them in the playbill and get them producer credit for less than that. But for my colleagues watching, I've never done that. Okay.
One of the skills that we hear a lot about is growth mindset and resilience. So can you share how that plays into the Broadway production for you and what lessons have you learned from it?
Say that again. Skill sets?
Growth mindset and resiliency. Can you share lessons that you've had about those two skills in Broadway productions?
Growth mindset.
That's hard because so much has changed post-COVID with the mentality of how Broadway is growing. The growth mindset, is that kind of? I'm totally gonna miss this. I'm totally gonna miss this question. I know I'll never see you again because I'm not gonna be able to figure out. The growth. You said the growth mindset.
Growth mindset with how you operate. So when you go into your Broadway production, you know you could fail. So how do you work past that and try to succeed? And if you do fail, how do you grow from that to the next production? Okay.
I'll use American. Again, I'm going to give an answer. That's not really the question. American Buffalo. It was just on Broadway last season with 3 named stars. And it did really, really well. So investors came back and said, great, what's the next show? The next show wasn't a success. So, then how do you keep them moving forward? Am I kind of? Oh, thank God. They had because they came on board with Ohio State Murderers. Same lead producer, you know, but they believed, they had the same beliefs that I had in what they were attracted to with that show. You know, not a moneymaker. It was a beautiful show, but I could still keep them interested. I'm not a used car salesman, right? I didn't, you know, I go in and I tell people, don't put your money in the shows. It's very risky. Know what you're getting, and if you give people an honest answer, then they stay with you for hit to moderate hit to flop to the next show. So, and everyone has a different mindset. I'm throwing in mindset so I can remember that that was kind of the question. And that's what they want. They just want honesty. Be forward with the people you work with in business. Don't feed them a crock of shit. Excuse my expression. Sorry, Mom. And then let them, and then you're building up a database of people that will trust you in the future. And that goes with Broadway, and that goes with my cater waiter business or any business that I start. Trust. We want to trust the people that we work with.
Down in the back, and then we have two there.
You're really going to have to yell because he was sitting way up close.
I'll project, like an actor. So for like a show like Ohio State Murders, it's like limited engagement. What is like the financial workings of that versus a show that open run? Like, does that increase the chances of recouping or decrease them?
Do you have a better chance of recouping your investment on a limited run show or an open run show?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. It's risk reward. On a big Broadway musical, on a Hadestown or a Hamilton, it's going to take you sometimes a bit longer to see your money back. But the rewards of that show, being on Hamilton, is a lot bigger. On a play, I'll use American Buffalo for an example. That was a short run, 17-week limited run, and the profit was over 125%. If a Broadway show, a musical, if Once Upon a One More Time runs really well, the profits will be a lot bigger. So limited profits on a 17-week play than you have on a musical, but a musical capitalization of $20 million takes a lot longer to recoup than the play of $6 or $7 million. So bigger risk, bigger rewards. All right. Some people don't want musicals, some people don't want plays, but everyone wants to make money.
Thank you so much for speaking. Before I ask my question, I just wanted to clarify, was this Tony Award for company revival?
Yeah, that Tony was for the revival of Company, which I was also involved with in London. So I got involved with in London. They were bringing it to Broadway. I had the right of first refusal as being part of the London team to bring it to Broadway. So yeah, that was for Company, and I have one for Hadestown too.
Well, thank you. I saw both last summer.
I love the picture of you with it. I love the picture.
Yes, thank you for letting me take a picture, but they were both fantastic. So my question was, what are your thoughts on, I guess, the longevity of the lifespan of live theater in the near future, especially with like professionally recorded musicals like Disney Plus? And also, how do you, I guess, like get people excited and advocate for musicals that are, I guess, less modern like Company, for like more niche audiences?
So
And then I'm my translator in the middle. But there you go. Plus, it's like the light, so that I can hear. It's hard for me.
So the question is twofold. The first part of the question was around how do you make sure that you are attracting audiences for things like Company, which are a little more niche, right? It's not Hamilton. And then the other piece was, what do you think is the future of live theater, given that Disney Plus and others are starting to record theater production and make it available to the masses?
I hope, and I think theater's going to get more around companies like Broadway In Demand, I think it is. I forgot.
Broadway
It's
Across
called.
America?
Now, there's a streaming service out there that is trying to push out getting more and more shows to be able to live stream them. And I think that's really important because from what I heard, it doesn't take away an audience. Like if you watch a live stream of Fly More Than You Fall, it's still going to make you want to see it when you come to Broadway. So the audiences are still there. I think there's a lot of work being done in that field, and those conversations are taking place. I'm not part of those conversations, so I don't know. To jump to the more of the marketing and bringing in audiences. Am I right? I'm not involved with that aspect on the shows. I will be as a lead producer on Fly More. My hands will be in every aspect, from how we market to, is it going on the train stations? Is it going on the bus? Or are we standing outside East 4th Street handing out flyers? So I majored in marketing from Boston University. So I love the idea of marketing and what shows could be doing, should be doing. But again, it goes towards changing the box of the people that make those decisions. And there's, some great firms that get all this, 4 marketing firms and 3 accounting firms. I tell my dad, become an accountant for Broadway. There's like only a few, right? My dad's 80. He's like, no, I'm not doing anything else. So it goes back to inclusion and bringing in new voices, right? Someone here should start an accounting firm for theater, or newer. And Broadway is starting to get those newer, younger voices starting the social media, because social media now is so important. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, shows were posting on Facebook or doing TikTok videos or anything like that. And that's important, right? And that's where new voices and new businesses have to be started, right? To push Broadway and theater, West End, Broadway, into the new millennium.
My question's along the same lines of the funding question that I was asked a little bit earlier. And so funding in today's day and age, it seems to be word of mouth and very much being within a network. So how could a recreational theater goer in the future be able to invest in productions like yours?
It's basically like things like this. Like, this is my first time speaking to a group about what it takes. A million years ago, when I was raising money for a show, I had to raise $500,000, and I'd raised $250,000 before that, and it was very stressful. Like, I sat on Facebook. That's a limit on Facebook, and I messengered every single one of my Facebook friends, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm involved with a new show. Hey, I'm involved with a new show." On and on and on and on. Excuse me. And what I eventually did was I started a fund so that my friends, that I can get 10 friends put in $7,500 each, 10,000 bits and pieces. So then that helped me put together that last million or whatever, 100,000, sorry. And there are funds out there. People can get together with 5 friends and say hey, let's each put in 5,000 and let's spend $250 to register the Northeastern Investment Club, and then invest in a show, right? Paperwork traditionally has to be sent in by one person, but that one group could be like a GoFundMe page. There was a Broadway show a million years ago that did a GoFundMe page. It's not, the structure for that is not really in place anymore, or to my knowledge, I wouldn't want to do it. But that's not going to say that 10 of you can't get together, put in $2,500, and call up someone like me or anyone else, on 44th Street, like the costume characters. Producers are walking up and down the block trying to get your money, just So there is that opportunity with people, maybe with people like me or with others, but a lot of producers don't want to get involved with people. People would rather get one person for 100,000 than 100 people at 10. But I do that sometimes. So you'll have my contact information, and I'm always available to answer any questions. Theater related.
Great.
How'd we do?
Wonderful, thank you. Although Mark, I grew up a Boston College fan, so I don't know if I would have invited you if I realized you went to BU, but appreciate you coming anyway.
We weren't supposed to mention BU.
That's true, it wasn't in the script. Well, thank you, Mark. This was amazing. I think it was really great in terms of not only inspiring what you're doing within the Broadway and West End community, but I think what amazes me about these conversations are some of the quite simple ways that you can make huge impact. So what you are doing is amazing, and something honestly that as we've been talking the past couple of months, I've been also trying to incorporate. So you've certainly made a dent, at least one person, probably about 50 to 60 more. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I have to say, at 21, 22, Rachel, Ethan, and Ashton, I could never imagine being on a stage in New York City asking a Tony Award-winning, Olivier Award-winning producer one question, never mind 3 or 4. So amazing job. Very proud of the work you all put into this, and you should be proud of yourselves, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much for that. So that will obviously conclude today's session. We do have a hard stop, which is why we're stopping a little bit early. But for those of you, certainly our Delta Sigma Pi brothers, there are a number of ways you could support our diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. One, certainly from an alumni perspective, we do have 2 scholarship funds devoted to those causes. The DEI Fund and the Black Leadership Fund are the 2 that we have devoted to it. Ashton here has an amazing program, DEI program that she's running with her chapter. We'd actually had a conversation in the fall, and really the chapter conversations and the initial events were amazing. And now as she's looking into her spring calendar, she's talking about bringing in, hopefully I'm not giving away her calendar, but talking about bringing in executive panels and industry panels that are really focused on bringing diverse members of those industries in to focus the conversations on their unique perspectives. But most importantly, certainly to go back to Mark's point about helping people see that there are different perspectives within those industries. So Ashton, I'm sure, could be a great resource if you have any of those questions, and certainly encourage you to reach out to her or any of the other alumni here as well on those conversation topics. There's a Facebook group, the DEI Diversity Network on Facebook. Did I say that one right?
We'll figure it out later.
Yeah, someone's in there. But there is a Facebook group. Jen Quinn is actually one of the founders of that group. So that's a great opportunity not only to kind of continue this conversation, but ask questions about potential DEI events that you could run in your chapter. And certainly we'll have members of the board here, as well as our executive director as well, put you guys to work, who are also available for conversations. And honestly, these folks are some of the more, a lot of the entire board, I think, takes this very seriously, but certainly the folks that we have here in attendance today are some of our leaders on those initiatives. So I think they'll not only be able to have good conversations on it, but I think will certainly help you around. Oh.
Don't forget Mike's fund.
Yes, and the Mike Maloney Where Leadership Begins, thank you. And there's also the Mike Maloney Where Leadership Begins fund there as well, so perfect. I thought I got in trouble when you gave me the hand and said listen. Good.
And anybody can reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Yep. Oh yeah, I was just looking at
LinkedIn and Instagram would be Marc Levine. So anybody with the Tony picture, just tag me. I want to see that. That's really fun.
And
I'd be happy to answer any.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
And we did also send them Fly More Than You Fall, the drop box.
Yeah, that's right.
Let him. Mark loves feedback on it. I gave him the feedback my son gave him about wanting to see it on Broadway. And he asked me for a chat. Asked me how much is in my.
Yeah, we did a presentation last year for an industry presentation with 13 performers just reading off it's 2 hours. Do not make believe you're in a movie theater. Yeah. Try not to text during it. And watch it or don't watch it. I've only shared it with a handful of the 200 industry people that came for 2 days last year in May. If you like musicals, you like theater, and if you somewhat was moderately entertained, please watch it. And just send me your feedback. There are 200, there's 65 critics in the room.
All right, like I want to hear that because it's a ground. We're starting with the dramaturg. The show's been around for a few years. I would love to hear your comments. I didn't write it. I will not take anything personally. Like every criticism helps towards making anything better. So Paul will send you the link.
Oh yeah. Oh, they have it. It's
Yeah,
already.
TikTok videos about it too.
And if you want to know what Paul the dad is like, it's literally Paul.
Oh, yeah, the dad's name is Paul.
Yeah, same kind of person. Oh, maybe there is a.
Maybe he is like that.
Maybe as my wife is like, no, you're not investing. I did have one official announcement. Monica did want me to remind you that if you're a delegate, you do need to be back at the hotel by 8 o'clock for delegate orientation. I tried. I told her I wanted to go for dinner. She said she didn't care. So about me, everyone else she certainly does care about. But I'm looking forward to seeing you all at that delegate orientation. I will be there as well. But again, thank you all for coming in early and certainly making the trek into New York City. And Mark, Rachel, and Ashton, thank you. Let me quick. Okay.
Hi everyone. So the Sci-Fi chapter turned 20 this year. So we're having a gala on April 14th out in Boston. If you'd like some details, feel free to see me either right now or anytime throughout the weekend, and I can do the registration link. It's gonna be a great time.
Awesome. Thank you everyone, and I'll see you back at the hotel. Thank you.